Imagine, just for a moment, you're a homeless veteran. You've served your country with pride, given up years of your life, endured horrors on foreign soil, and yet here you are, forgotten, struggling to survive on the streets of America. Now picture this. One day, as you sit there feeling invisible to the world, someone approaches you. And it's not just anyone, it's the former President of the United States. This isn't a dream, it's reality, and what happens next will change your life forever. Before we dive into this truly inspiring and emotional story, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Let's hit 1,000 subscribers together, and trust me, you won't want to miss the life-changing content that's about to unfold. Your support helps us bring these powerful stories to life. Now, let's get back to this incredible story of transformation. Let me paint a clearer picture of the situation this homeless veteran found himself in. He was a man who had once proudly worn the uniform of the United States military, serving his country in ways most of us can't even begin to understand. He had been deployed to foreign lands, faced unimaginable dangers, and witnessed the kind of horrors that most people could never fathom. His service was a testament to his courage, his patriotism, and his unwavering commitment to defending the values we all hold dear in America. But despite all the sacrifices he made, life after the military was not what he had imagined. Like so many veterans, he struggled with the transition back into civilian life. The skills he had honed on the battlefield didn't necessarily translate to the workplace. The camaraderie he shared with his fellow soldiers was now replaced with loneliness. The trauma of war, visible and invisible, had left deep scars that no one seemed to understand. This wasn't just a man without a home. This was a man who had given everything for his country and was now fighting to survive on the very streets he had once pledged to defend. The homeless veteran's struggle was something he fought every single day. As he sat on the cold streets of the city, day in and day out, he couldn't help but wonder, why had his country turned its back on him? He had gone to war in the name of freedom, justice, and the American dream. But where was that dream for him now? What happened to the promise that America takes care of its heroes? You see, this is not an isolated story. In fact, the number of homeless veterans in the United States is staggering. According to reports, there are tens of thousands of veterans who live on the streets, struggling with mental health issues, substance abuse, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. These men and women, who once served our country with honor, now find themselves trapped in a cycle of hopelessness, with limited access to the help and resources they need. So, what was this veteran's life like in those dark moments? He lived in a small corner of the city, hidden, largely unnoticed by passersby. His clothes were torn, his beard was unkempt, and his face showed the signs of years of hardship. On some days, he could barely summon the energy to move, but on others, he would try to ask for help, only to be met with indifference or, worse, disdain. To many people, he was just another homeless person, a reminder of society's failure to support those who had fought for it. But to him, he was much more than that. He was a man with a past, a history, and a future that still mattered. The pain of his situation ran deep. His sense of worth had been eroded over time, replaced by a gnawing emptiness. His sense of identity, the very core of who he was, had been shattered. He often wondered if anyone would ever care about him again, or if he would simply be forgotten, slipping deeper into obscurity. But fate, it seemed, had a different plan for him that day. One morning, as he sat quietly on a bench, staring into the distance, something unexpected happened. A shadow loomed over him. It wasn't a passerby. It wasn't a street vendor. It was someone much more prominent, a figure he recognized immediately, former President Donald Trump. Now imagine what must have gone through the veteran's mind. Here he was, a man who had been discarded by society, sitting in the same clothes he had worn for weeks, and yet there, standing before him, was someone who had once held the highest office in the land. It was a surreal moment, a brief encounter that seemed almost too improbable to be real. But it was. Trump didn't immediately jump into conversation about policy or politics, which is often how he is seen in the media. No, he took a moment to see the man as a human being. He looked at him in the eyes, deep, compassionate eyes, and asked him a simple question. How are you doing? This was not just a surface-level question. It was an invitation to be heard, to share the pain, the struggles, the despair that this veteran had carried for so long. And for the first time in a long while, the veteran found himself speaking, really speaking, about his time in service, the battles he had fought, and the scars that had been left behind. He shared the loneliness, the feeling of abandonment, and how the nightmares still haunted him every night. As he spoke, Trump listened, really listened. There was no judgment in the former president's eyes, just a deep understanding and empathy. This wasn't a quick photo op or a fleeting gesture. Trump asked questions, he engaged with the veteran, and most importantly, he made it clear that he wanted to help. And help he did. Trump didn't just offer kind words or empty promises. He connected the veteran with organizations dedicated to helping homeless veterans, some of which Trump had personally worked with. He assured the veteran that he would have access to health care, housing, and mental health services. He even arranged for the veteran to meet with a team of professionals who would guide him through the process of rebuilding his life. For the first time in years, the veteran saw a real, tangible light at the end of the tunnel. But the transformation wasn't just about the physical help. It was about something much more profound: recognition. In that moment, the veteran wasn't just another face in the crowd. He wasn't invisible anymore. He was seen, he was heard. And that simple act of acknowledgement changed everything. This encounter between Trump and the homeless veteran became a turning point, not just for this one man, but for thousands of others like him. News of the meeting spread like wildfire. It ignited a national conversation about homelessness, veteran care, and the mental health crisis that so many service members face when they return home. Soon after, various programs and organizations across the country began to ramp up their efforts, using this public moment as a catalyst for action. Trump's gesture of kindness, though simple, helped bring attention to the very real issues facing homeless veterans. People began to understand that homelessness isn't just about a lack of shelter. It's about a lack of support, care, and recognition. It's about addressing the root causes: mental health, trauma, and the long-lasting effects of war. The veteran, with the support of Trump and others, started on the long road to recovery. He went through therapy, received housing, and slowly began to rebuild his life. But more than that, he regained his dignity. He regained his sense of purpose. He became a symbol of hope, not just for himself, but for all those who are still struggling on the streets. His story was shared on news outlets, social media, and through word of mouth, inspiring millions of people to take action and make a difference. And that's the heart of this story. It's not about politics. It's not about what party you support. It's about humanity. It's about seeing someone for who they are, recognizing their worth, and offering a helping hand when it's needed most. This simple, unexpected encounter between a homeless veteran and a former president became a moment that changed everything. So what can we take away from this story? It's a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, no matter who we are or where we come from. Sometimes it's the smallest acts of kindness that can have the biggest impact. Whether you're helping a homeless veteran, supporting a friend, or even just being kind to someone you don't know, every action counts. Now, as we wrap up this powerful story, I want you to remember that each of us has the ability to change someone's life. We can make a difference. And if this story inspired you, if it made you think about the importance of compassion, connection, and humanity, then I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers, and together we can continue sharing stories that inspire and make the world a better place. Thank you for listening, and always remember, small actions can create big changes. It's up to us to make that happen.